Nigeria-Equatorial Guinea plan coordinated borders patrol. Bandits kidnap over 20 medical students in Benue. Federal government launches 500 million domestic bond. On the foreign news, Turkish ruling party MP assaults opposition lawmakers in parliament. And on sport, Super Falcons retain 30th spot globally in FIFA ranking, remain first in Africa. Details of these and more will come to you in the bulletin. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I am Mercy Queen of Tanko, and now the news in full. The Minister of Defense, Mohammed Baduru, says discussions on the defense agreement are ongoing between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea to establish coordinated patrols, policing and security along Nigeria's border and the Gulf of Guinea. Speaking to the State House correspondent on a two-day President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit to Equatorial Guinea, the minister said that though agreements are yet to be finalized, but as soon as the committee becomes operational, it would facilitate effective sea patrols. Baduru also stated that the joint committee would help prevent illegal activities in the Gulf of Guinea. He further stated that the joint security patrol will check illegal movement of crude oil from both countries. In the same vein, Nigeria Equatorial Guinea signed agreement on petroleum security and other crucial areas. Preceded official talks between the two leaders. From State House, from Malubu, Equatorial Guinea, Hassan Umar Farouk has the details.
President Bola Tinubu and his Equatorial Guinea counterpart, Teodoro Obiang Obasogo, supervised the signing, which preceded official talks between the two leaders. Speaking at the dinner hosted by President Teodoro Obiang Ngwame Obasogo of Equatorial Guinea, the president tasked African leaders to prioritize peace, stability and progress, saying the continent must take charge of solving its own problem and rejecting external expectations of conflict and instability.
Yes, Africa, it is Africa that must solve its own problem. They want Africa wretched and raggedy, full of conflicts, antagonism of one another. But we are saying no. Peace, stability, and democracy is the way forward for a progressive development.
President Tinubu also emphasized the importance of peace and unity in Africa's development, stating that without peace, progress is impossible.
We have to work together to make peace the focus of our development in order to really develop. Without peace, we cannot develop.
The president said now is the time for African leaders to take action in prioritizing stability. President Tinubu highlighted the brain drain and talent loss in Africa due to poverty, judicial system and tribalism. Earlier in his remark, the host's President Teodoro
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has departed Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, after a three-day official visit. President Tinubu, whose visit was on the invitation of his counterpart, President Teodoro Obiang Nguema of Equatorial Guinea, arrived in Malabo. Right from his arrival, the president kicked off with some diplomatic and economic activities between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea, including the signing of the Gulf of Guinea pipeline agreement. Besides the pipeline agreement, the visit of the president saw the resuscitation of the Nigeria-Equatorial Guinea Joint National Commission, under which many other bilateral activities have been set in motion and to be activated in November. President Tinubu, who was accompanied by the Equatorial Guinea Prime Minister Manuela Rocco, departed the Malabo International Airport at about 4 p.m. The Court of Appeal Abuja Division has set aside a lower court order barring the former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondos, a Rivers Governor Celestine Omeha, and a former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Austin Opara, from attending the party's meeting. A three-member panel of the Court of Appeal in a three separate judgments unanimously upheld the appeals filed by the three aggrieved party chieftains, and the appellate court held that it found merit in their appeals. Justice Iang Eko of the Federal High Court in Abuja had issued an order barring Secondus, Omeha, and Opara from further attending any meeting of the party's National Executive Committee or participating in deliberations or proceedings of the meeting in any manner. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) says a total of 39 confirmed cases and 0 deaths from monkeypox have been recorded across the 3 states under the Federal Capital Territory. Director General of the NCDC, Jide Idris, made a revelation at a press briefing on the declaration of the monkeypox as a public health emergency of international concern. He said the NCDC is intensifying surveillance across Nigeria to swiftly detect and respond to new cases. According to Idris, the NCDC all port health services across all 5 international airports and 10 seaports, 51 land foot crossing borders are on high alert. Idris added that some states have also been put on high alert, including Lagos, Enugu, Kano, Rivers, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Adamawa, Taraba, and the Federal Capital Territory. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization (WHO) declared the mpox surge in Africa a global public health emergency, worried by the rise in cases in DRC, Congo, and the spread to nearby countries. Monkeypox has swept through the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the virus, formerly called mpox or monkeypox, was first discovered in humans in 1970 and spread to other countries. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, has described the report of the seizure of 3 presidential jets in France as another embarrassment which exposed failed leadership in Nigeria. A French court ordered the seizure of the jets following a contract dispute between Ogun State and a Chinese company, Zhongshan Fengcheng Industrial Investment. The federal government has, however, stated that it has set in motion both legal and diplomatic steps to ensure the discharge of the inappropriate orders against the jets, which it declared are covered by sovereign immunity. In an expose, Obi berated the federal government and the Ogun State government, saying that the aircraft seizure has exposed multiple dimensions to the country's leadership failure. He said the trending international news on the seizure of the 3 jets belonging to Nigeria's presidential fleet is yet another of many embarrassing things, exposing failed leadership and attitude to the rule of law, even in a democracy. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, briefed journalists on the activities of the military in different theaters of operations in the country. Edward Buba spoke on improvements observed in the nation's crude oil production that has led in troops raising the bar and maintaining to sustain the vigor and momentum till the nation crude oil production target is achieved and exceeded, among other things. Defense correspondent Odne Musa was there and now reports.
Major General Edward Buba, while briefing journalists, spoke on the need of troops to protect the nation's crude oil production from criminals who are bent on destroying the nation's integrity, saying the troops need to sustain and maintain the momentum and vigor the nation get to its crude oil production target and even surpass it.
I'm pleased to state that we have observed some improvements as there is a noticeable increase in the nation's crude oil production. Now, though we are not yet at where we want to be in terms of daily crude oil production, I can say that we are on the right track. Accordingly, troops will sustain the renewed vigor and momentum till the nation's crude oil production target is achieved and exceeded.
Speaking on the ongoing operations in other parts of the country, Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said the main focus still remains to kill and defeat the enemy wherever they are hiding, while stating that the operations are in a better place than it used to be.
Meanwhile, for our ongoing operations in other parts of the country, I will say that we remain focused on defeating and killing the enemy wherever they are hiding. I must also state that we are in a better place today than at any previous time in terms of our operations.
Director, Defense Media Operations, still speaking, said troops in the northeast, Operation Hardin K, had terrorist combatants and their family members surrender to the troops. In the same vein, the troops in the North Central Operation Safe Haven conducted counter and anti-kidnapping operations that led to arrest, mostly in Plateau State.
Terrorist combatants and their families surrendered to troops at the following locations: Bama, Goza, and Ikwa local government areas of Borno State. Also, troops conducted fighting patrols and ambushes in Dambwa, Bama, Goza local government area, as well as the Maiduguri Municipal Council. All of these are in Borno State. The troops conducted fighting patrols in Rio, Focus, Badminton, Jos South, local government areas of Plateau State. Additionally, the troops conducted counter and anti-kidnapping operations in Mangu, Kange, Jos East and Jos South local government areas of Plateau State. Troops also arrested suspected violent airstrikes in the course of the operations in Balkinladi, Basa, and Rio local government areas of Plateau State.
Troops in the Northwest Operation Hadarindaji conducted oppressive operations that led to raid of bushes and known hideouts of bandits and terrorists in Katsina, Zamfara, and Kaduna State.
Troops of Operation Hadarindaji conducted oppressive operations, including raids and ambushes in Paskari, local government area of Katsina State. Similarly, they did say in Bakura, Kalata, Mafara, and Kabra, Namoda local government areas of Zamfara State, as well as Chiku, local government area of Kaduna State. Overall, the troops of Operation Hadarindaji neutralized 30 terrorists, arrested 21 of them, and rescued 44 kidnapped hostages during the period under review.
Major General Edward Buba concluded by showing evidence of the oil bunkering site that was destroyed by troops in a quest to protecting the nation's crude oil production and also making sure that daily targets are met. 1 minute silence was observed by the DDMO, senior military president, and journalists in honor of our departed heroes. Othniel Musa, Liberty News.
Thank you, Othniel Musa, for that report. About 20 medical students have been kidnapped in Benue State, the police authorities have said. The victims were on their way to Enugu State, passing through Otukpo local government area in Benue State before they encountered bandits, confirming the incident to newsmen. The State Police Public Relations Officer Sewese Anene said that the victims were en route to Enugu for a program when they ran into kidnappers around Otukpo. The students were said to have been traveling in a convoy of 2 buses and were coming from the northern parts of the country when they ran into the ambush on Thursday evening. The Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, celebrated her 60th anniversary while hosting the maiden African Defense Industry Conference from 9th to 15th of August 2024 with the theme DICON at 60 Military Industrial Complex, with the assenting of the new DICON Act by the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on the 23rd November 2023. According to a series of activities that were outlined to commemorate the anniversary in Abuja and Kaduna. Defense
Industry Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, celebrated her 60th anniversary while hosting the maiden African Defense Industry Conference from 9th to 15th of August 2024 and had a colorful and successful event that had in attendance the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, the Minister of Defense for State and former Governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawale, the Chief of Defense Staff CDS, General Christopher Gwabing Musa, all service chief, senior military and armed forces personnel, distinguished senators, honorable members, security stakeholders, and the general public in attendance. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, called on the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, to develop solutions that will ensure the security and prosperity of the country and the entire African continent in the years to come. He also said to confront threats to peace and stability, African countries must continue to work together to strengthen their defense capabilities and foster regional cooperation. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawale said the Armed Forces of Nigeria requires 200 million rounds of ammunition annually for its operations. The minister, while blaming past governors for the nation's failure to achieve self-sufficiency in the production of military hardware, assured Nigerians that DICON would, in the next 3 years, export its military capabilities through local manufacturing of military hardware. Also speaking at the ceremony, the Executive Vice Chairman of NASENI, Kali Suleiman Halilu, highlighted the importance of the Military Industrial Complex MIC as not just a strategic initiative, but a national imperative. African Defense Industry Conference, the maiden edition, had tech experts who had invented different locally AI tools or apparatus that would help the security sector of the country pitch their ideas in a competition organized by DICON that had the best top 3 pitchers get the sum of $10,000 from Senator Ned Nwoko, and DICON hoping to engage them in the production of these security gadgets.
The major problem now is the public safety guides, and the current system has so much limitation. The manual search, the bus search, and other manual questions asked, and the result is very slow in terms of a result.
In the beginning of the deployment, the drone is used to deploy these sensors in the jungle because we know there's not enough network in the jungle. So you deploy these sensors within the jungle, and these sensors are programmed to detect gunshots, people talking, or groups of people moving together, just different activities. They are programmed to detect that.
Intelligent Growth Solution. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present.
Also want to thank our DG here for this wonderful opportunity. I hope that we can bring these young men together to offer those things that you need. Is to make available the sum of $10,000 to each.
Speaking to journalists on the sidelines, Senator Ned Nwoko said for a country like Nigeria, she should be able to produce locally, saying we have the capacity and manpower to do so.
We should be able to have enough capacity to produce locally. It breaks my heart when I hear of America's refusal or Britain's refusal to sanction or to approve the supply of some weapons to Nigeria, but manifestly needed for our defense purposes.
Awards of special recognition were presented to VIPs, gifts presented to top 3 CEOs. The Minister of Defense for State and former Governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawale, then declared the celebration and event closed.
On this note, I hereby declare the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria 60th anniversary and the maiden African Defense Industry Conference closed today. Thank you and God bless.
Osnel Musa, Liberty News.
Thank you so much, Otne Musa, for the report. Moving on, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has said affected by flood this year. The agency said over 32,000 houses and 16,000 hectares of farmlands with crops have also been damaged. The agency, in a statement in Abuja by the head of the press unit of NEMA, Manzo Ezekiel, said the data was from its Emergency Operations Center established for the flood monitoring and coordination of resource deployment. The agency, however, stated that it had begun the deployment of relief items to complement efforts by various state governments to provide succor to persons affected by the floods. The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umar, has also warned communities at risk of flooding and those living along waterways to relocate to safe higher grounds ahead of the peak of the raining season. With increasing incidents in some parts of the country, Umar urged stakeholders to be alert and activate plans and preparations for floods. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, says 3 drug kingpins and 16 other offenders, have been convicted and sentenced to a total of 302 years in prison. NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, in a statement, said they were sentenced for trafficking and dealing in illicit drugs. They were convicted for trafficking cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, cannabis, and opioids, among others. To Babafemi, the 19 convicts lead the list of 414 drug traffickers and dealers convicted by the Federal High Court across Benue, Bauchi, Edo, Lagos, Ogun, Gombe, and the Federal Capital Territory between July 1st and 31st, 2024, following charges brought against them by the NDLEA. One of the 3 kingpins, a 50-year-old Bolanle Dauda, was arrested during an intelligence-led raid by operatives of a special operation unit in NDLEA at Ibeyi along Lagos-Badagry Expressway while attempting to cross the land border to deliver the consignment in Ghana on May 25, 2024. You can also watch us live on all our social media platforms on YouTube and Facebook by searching for Liberty TVR. And still to come in the bulletin. Federal government launches 500 million domestic bond. And on the foreign news, Turkish ruling party MP assault opposition lawmakers in parliament. And on sports, Super Falcons retain 36th spots globally in FIFA ranking, remain first in Africa. Stand by for these and more. After this break, we'll be right back. From that short break, and if you're just joining us, the news is brought to you on Liberty Television. Thank you so much for joining us. Still in the bulletin, the federal government has lodged 500 million domestic bond about 3 weeks after hinting at the action. Unveiling the bond in Lagos, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, stated that the launch was a bold step towards economic transformation, poised to attract both local and international investors. Edwin stated further that the bond issuance, which is set to leverage the Nigerian financial system, including the Securities and Exchange Commission and the banking system, investment bankers, and to also represent a critical effort to attract foreign currency held by Nigerians abroad as well as other international investors who believe in the macroeconomics reform initiatives spearheaded by President Bola Tinubu. In his presentation at the event, the minister stressed that the financial market thrives on creativity and innovation, and that it is essential to encourage investors to participate in the strategic opportunity. And up next is business segment. Stand by for more.
Hello and welcome to Business Update. Manufacturing capacity utilization declined further by 14.1% in second quarter 2024 from 9.8% witnessed in the preceding quarter. Investment also dipped by 5% in second quarter 2024 from 5.2% contraction recorded in the preceding quarter. The downward trend in the two key manufacturing indicators, according to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, underscored the negative impact of Nigeria's macroeconomic environment on the manufacturing sector in the quarter under review. The second quarter 2024 MAN CEO's Confidence Index (MCCI) report released this week said all the manufacturing indicators recorded unfavorable changes during the period of review due to foreign exchange scarcity, high exchange rate, and heightened inflation. The report added that the unfavorable macroeconomic environment was aggravated by skyrocketed increase in electricity tariff, consistent increase in interest rate, perennial fuel scarcity, and the nationwide industrial action during the review. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group (NESG) has advocated a more effective approach in Nigeria's financial inclusion drive, as over 30 million of the country's population is financially excluded. The NESG stated this in a webinar with the theme Enhancing the Banking and Payment System for Effective Financial Inclusion. An NESG board member, Mr. Lanre Akimbo, highlighted Nigeria's complex financial landscape, saying with a population of 220 million in 2021 and a vast network of financial institutions comprising 33 deposit money banks, 887 microfinance banks, and 291 active fintech startups, the country's financial services ecosystem is expanding rapidly. Technical advisor to the President on Development, Finance and Finance. The federal government of Nigeria plans to issue a $500 million denominated domestic bond next week Monday to attract both local and international investors. Gbadebo Adenrele, Managing Director of Investment Banking at United Capital Group, disclosed this during a hybrid roadshow with investors organized by the Debt Management Office (DMO). Recall that the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, had announced plans to commence the $500 million dominated bond to catalyze economic growth in the country. Similarly, the Director General of the Debt Management Office (DMO), Patience Oniha, said that the settlement date for the domestic dollar bond auction will be 10 days after the auction date. The government said the auction was targeting $1 billion in total subsidy.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for that business update. And to foreign news now. Burundi has pardoned a journalist sentenced to 10 years in prison for allegedly undermining the integrity of the national territory the presidency has announced. Florine Ngabi was arrested in August 2022 while visiting her family in the East African nation and sentenced in January 2023 for provoking international concerns over press freedom. The human rights group ACAT Burundi hailed the decision, but in a post on X urged Nganshiye to continue on her path by releasing other people unjustly imprisoned. In Rangbiye's case, Myanmar's junta-controlled central bank has said it will release $100 million to help struggling importers to purchase fuel and other crude oil. The local kyat currency had plunged against the dollar since the military seized power in 2021, hitting importers' ability to pay for fuel shipments. In recent days, some residents in the commercial city have been queuing overnight outside petrol stations in the hope of obtaining fuel for vehicles. The shortage also affects businesses and hospitals that rely on generators for power during frequent electricity blackouts in the city of some 8 million. Myanmar's economy has tanked since the coup, which sparked huge pro-democracy protests that were crushed by a military crackdown. And still on the foreign news, a brawl broke out in Turkey's parliament after lawmakers discussed the fate of a jailed opposition figure controversially stripped of his parliamentary immunity earlier this year. The lawmakers were meeting after the country's constitutional court earlier this month struck down parliament's decision to oust Khan Atalay from his parliamentary seat. Lawyers and rights, Atalay won his seat last year after having campaigned from the prison cell. Ahmet Silk, a fellow member of the Leftist Workers' Party of Turkey, TIP, defended Atalay against the attack on him by ruling party lawmakers. The comments drew angry responses from ruling party's lawmakers, prompting the chairman to call a break. At least 2 opposition MPs were injured.
To Ukraine's president says the aims of its attack on Russia's Kursk region is to get Moscow to start fair peace talks to end the war. Mikhailo Podolyak says Ukraine has no interest in occupying territory, taking in its 11-day cross-border incursion. Meanwhile, Ukraine has set up a military office to Africa here. The European Center for Disease Control and Control, ECDC, has updated its recommendations in response to outbreaks of a new strain of the virus in other continents, including Europe, and to expect some cases too, it says. ECDC says the risk of it spreading elsewhere is low, despite the World Health Organization recently declaring the mpox situation a global emergency. The disease, formerly known as monkeypox, can be passed on by close contact with anyone with the infection. Those who have been vaccinated against mpox in the past might only need 1 top-up dose rather than 2 shots. Booster vaccine doses are typically recommended every 2 to 3 to 10 years. If 50 people in the DRC in recent months linked to a new type of further added. And finally, from India, protests have intensified in India after a mob vandalized a hospital where a female trainee doctor was raped and murdered in West Bengal state. The hospital was attacked on Wednesday during the massive reclaim. The night march was held in Kolkata city to protest against the brutal crime. Smaller protests were also held in many other Indian cities like Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai and Pune. The Indian Medical Association, IMA, the country's largest grouping of doctors, has announced a nationwide strike of non-emergency services on Saturday. Doctors' associations in other cities and political parties.
And up next is entertainment segment.
Good evening and welcome to Entertainment News. Olamide has released a visual for his hit single Uptown Disco featuring Asake and Fireboy. Uptown Disco is one of the songs of Olamide's latest project Ikigai, which is a Japanese word that means reason for being or life purpose. On the EP, Olamide featured NBLL superstar Fireboy and Asake on track 3 Uptown Disco. He also teamed up with the former NBNL associate Phils, Young Joe and Lil Kish for track 7 titled Synchro System. Since its release on June 10, 2024, as Olamide's 10th solo project. And finally, Netflix has announced the renewal of the superhero series Supercell for a second season. Following the 6-episode first season, which debuted in June 2024, the streaming platform confirmed August that another season is on the way. Directed by Andrew Onwobolo, aka Rapman, Supercell follow a group of 5 Londoners who begin to develop mysterious powers. They have little in common except for one thing: they are all black South Londoners unified by a family history of sickle cell disease. It's down to one man to bring them all together to save the woman he loved. In viewership, the show held the top spot on Netflix top 10 English language TV chart for 6 weeks after it released. The show pulled in 11.8 million views in its first week, followed by 7.1 million views in its second week. Supercell has received highly positive reviews from critics and audience for its performance, direction, writing, to cinematography, and most especially for raising awareness of sickle cell disease. The series explores themes such as knife crime, racial profiling, poverty, the exploitation of black bodies, and sickle cell disease. Thanks for listening. I am the lady with her eyes and ears out for juicy entertainment stories. Until I come your way in our next segment, Elizabeth Masha. Do enjoy the rest of the news.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth Masha, for the entertainment stories. And moving on to sports. Nigeria's senior women's football team, the Super Falcons, have retained their 36th position in the latest global ranking by the Federation International, the Football Association. The Falcons also maintained their position as the top-ranked women's football team in Africa, according to the ranking released in August. The ranking follows their disappointing performance at the recently concluded Women's Summer Olympics football event in Paris, France. The Falcons failed to progress to the quarterfinals after suffering 3 consecutive defeats, losing 1-0 to Brazil and Spain and a heavy 3-1 defeat to Japan, finishing at the bottom of Group C. Following Nigeria in the African rankings are South Africa 50th position, Morocco 59th, Zambia 62nd, and Ghana at 66. Still on sports, Nigeria's senior men's basketball team, the Tigers, have dropped 4 places in the latest FIBA ranking released. It was reported that the Tigers slumped from 39th to 42nd position in the world ranking. The former African champions tallied 299.7 points during the month under review to occupy 6th position on the continent. South Sudan hopped from 34th to 23rd in the FIBA world ranking to become the top-ranked African team, overtaking Cote d'Ivoire. Olympic champions US protected their lead at the top, while Serbia jumped up 2 spots to get to the second spot with a total of 758.9 points, overtaking Germany. Meanwhile, basketball enthusiasts